Yeah, no, I can do that now. Yeah, but we need to play the video. Okay, for that. Okay. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for sharing this session of the Forest Stewardship Council. Welcome online, people. This is about showing FSC's engagement in the thematic area of ecosystem services. We will guide you through our involvement in this, how we came to this engagement, some background, and present new tools that we have developed and launched earlier this year. This is about a 60-minute session.
What is the true value of...
We'll start off with a small video to give you a flavor of what this is all about, after which we provide an intro into the subject, and then we have two presenters that I will introduce later, which guide us through these new tools and their practical application. And after that, we have some time for questions and answers and a little discussion. So let's start with that video, please.
What is the true value of forests? Forests deliver multiple benefits to society. They provide clean and reliable water. They are home to many different species, and they contribute to our well-being. All these natural benefits are known as ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are crucial to curbing the effects of climate change. Through responsible forest management, FSC helps maintain these benefits. That's why, for the first time ever, we are providing specific tools to help forest managers be rewarded for their contribution. FSC's new Ecosystem Services procedure will provide forest landowners, smallholders, and communities with important incentives to their work. It will provide tools to measure and verify the positive impacts on ecosystem services and to seek value for their preservation. By supporting forest managers, smallholders, and communities, we are supporting the future of our forests and our planet. Find out more on how ecosystem services can benefit you by contacting Chris Henschel at c.henschel@fsc.org.
So I give you first a few sentences who we are, FSC, Forest Stewardship Council. We are a non-governmental organization based on principles of multi-stakeholder participation. So we are a membership organization created 25 years ago to allow consumers and businesses to identify products from well-managed forests. We do this through standards that we have developed through these multi-stakeholder processes. These standards allow forests to be assessed against, verified, and their products to be traded along the supply chain and labeled to demonstrate their origin and distinguish them from other products. Now, this concept of well-managed forests always had implicit the taking care, the stewardship of the natural benefits, the benefits nature offers in the form of ecosystem services. And the inherent idea was also that through this distinguishment, not only a preference was provided for forest products that came from demonstrably well-managed forests, but also price premiums. Now, these price premiums, these extra efforts that forest managers have to undertake to meet high standards, not often materialize. There is cases where there is such good kind of response by the market, but in many cases, actually, these extraordinary efforts are not fully rewarded by society and by the market. And with that notion, a concept came up in the late 80s and 90s of ecosystem services, which means that nature is seen also as providing non-tangible products in the widest sense, in this case services, that can be taken care of, that should be rewarded, and that can be marketed. And with that notion, FSC has looked into this concept about 10 years ago. We started our engagement there. We developed a climate change strategy, a strategy for integrating ecosystem services into our model of certifying well-managed forests. And its formal materialization we have included the concept of ecosystem services in our statutes in terms of that our ambition of actually taking care of them. We have included them into our leading standards, into our global standard for well-managed forests, our principles and criteria. And in the same year, which was 2015, we have also incorporated them into our global strategic plan for the next 5 years. And as part of this global strategic plan, which is set out to increase the market and stakeholder value of FSC more generally, we are committed to develop new tools for our key customers, the certificate holders, the forest managers, but also the many producers that allow them access these new markets wherever they emerge, the markets that honor extraordinary efforts for those who take care of ecosystem services, meaning those services which ensure water, carbon, biodiversity, soil, but also recreational values are maintained or enhanced. And another element of our strategy is that we want forest owners and managers really to benefit financially. So we want to allow them to derive additional revenue from these tools that we are now putting in place. So earlier this year, we launched a new procedure which is complementary to our forest management standards, meaning it can be applied on top of forest management standards and allows to demonstrate, to identify and demonstrate impacts in terms of positive effects that forest management has on identified and targeted ecosystem services. So we now want to present you that procedure in detail, how it's meant to work, and then also show you its application with first examples. And our first presenter is Hernan Saldivar from our Latin American FSC regional office. Hernan will present a case study from Peru. Later on, we have a second speaker, Federico Penato from Italy, who works with us as a partner organization, has helped us pilot testing the procedure. He has a number of case studies to show also what his organization is doing in this field, and after which we can then go to the questions and answers. So I would ask you, Hernan, to present us your the insights you have, at first the characteristics of the procedure, and then show us how it can be applied in a practical case.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you everyone who will be here. Like I said, my name is Hernan Saldivar from the Latin America Regional Office, and I want to show a very quickly overview about the procedure, of the new procedure on ecosystem services from the FSC. The first thing, how I say, Stefan said, the FSC FFM standards provide a social and environmental safeguards for that require the protection of the environmental and social values of the forest. Now, the FSC Ecosystem Services Procedure provide a global approach to demonstrate these values in a very positive way and communicate in their own way, in the good way. The FSC Ecosystem Survey Procedure is a voluntary tool, like I said, Stefan. And the first step for apply this procedure is be a certified holder for FSC 100%. Who can be the beneficiary of this tool? Communities, certificate holders, companies, organizations in general, be part of the FSC system. This ecosystem survey procedure have general requirements and a specific one. I don't want to explain a little too much about all the requirements and special. You can go into the procedure in our web. In this graph, you can look at the 7 steps to demonstrate an impact. This graph demonstrates how you can demonstrating the positive impact of the you can share. The first step is what are the ecosystem services you will provide. You can, like Stefan said, we have 5 ecosystem services: carbon, water, soil, biodiversity, and recreational services. The second step is describe the ecosystem services. What is the actual condition, the past of the ecosystem services on the area. The third step is choose what impact was developed and apply the theory of the change of the procedure. Who is the most important thing in this procedure is the theory of change. And the fourth step is identify which outcomes we don't measure and see if you want to maintain, conserve, enhance the ecosystem services. The next step is in our procedure we have recommend some methodologies to do the measure of these ecosystem services, and the sixth is do the right measure of these ecosystem services applied. Sorry if my English is not very well, but if we follow these 7 steps, hopefully we can demonstrate the positive impact of the ecosystem services. And if not, this is not you not lose your certificate of the FM. No? It's totally free to maintain. The ecosystem services new procedure fit with the existing FNC framework. This can be all the procedure will be assessed for a certification body, and when the person who can apply to this certification ecosystem services need to do some new assessment, but it's not but it's in the same process of the audit and the certification first. Right now, we are testing this procedure in 14 sites around the world. And the 8 right now have the ecosystem services procedure. How Stefan said, the ecosystem service procedure allows a business to use the trademarks and support the green marketing. And now you can choose some examples to promotion the using of the ecosystem services claim, using our trademarks in the retail sector or in asset register in promotion. Now, finally, I want to show the example of the Comunidad Nativa Bélgica in the rainforest of Peru. This is, I'm not sure this is the last, but ecosystem services procedure applied in Peru. They demonstrate the positive impact of the maintain the biodiversity in the forest. The activities where they do it is the protection of the area, the reduced impact in logging, and education and training. And they show verify the impact of forest cover and native species biodiversity is maintained in the forest. Right now, this community is looking for sponsorship. Right now, have one possibility with some insurance company who is looking for support this community. Now, Federico.
So, good afternoon. As they said, my name is Federico Pinato, and actually I'm here to present our experience with our partner, which is called World Plus, which is one of the most important FSC certification groups in Italy. World Plus gathers more than 30 smallholders, accounting for more than 1,000 hectares in Italy. And I believe that the best word to describe this reality is diversity. Diversity both in terms of smallholders, which are both public and private and also regional park, and diversity also in terms of forests that are included in the group, because the group includes both productive forests and conservation lowland forests, and also the coastal forests in the Venice area, which are used mostly for recreational activities and touristic activities. And together with World Plus, we as ETIFOR, which is a consultancy forestry company spin-off of the University of Padua, we developed a lot of projects of marketing and sales of ecosystem services, testing in 2017, a pilot testing of the procedure, and this summer we applied the final version of the procedure. So our approach is based on real and on-the-ground activities, such as tree planting or forest protection, and we always offer quality products where the quality is ensured by the FSC certification. We offer highly customized products to find the perfect fit for every client and for every situation, for every ecosystem. We usually target the companies we work for and their public or the individuals we work for with a human-to-human approach, highly customized, and we ensure the projects to be visible and accessible, and we do it with the production of videos, organization of events, activity on social networks, and contests. Our approach can be also synthesized by the words close, because our projects are always close to customers or to production sites when we are dealing with companies, and close to everyday life when we are dealing with individuals or communities. Then we are able to work almost all over the world, and so in this case we can guarantee a cost-effective solution for everyone. So during these years of experience, we came to realize that actually there's no single demand for ecosystem services, but there are different kinds of demand. And we need to identify them and to respond to them in different ways. For example, you may have a particularly sensitive individuals willing to have a positive impact on ecosystem services, or you may have companies willing to enforce green marketing strategies or corporate social responsibilities policies. Or you may have public administration, which usually aim to the public good. Or you may also have companies willing to improve the quality of the supply chain. Or in other cases, you may have responsible investors, which are investors that want to deliver positive impacts on society and the environment alongside profit. Now I'm going to show you some examples of projects we developed in order to respond to these different kinds of demand. So when it comes to green marketing and corporate social responsibilities, usually companies prefer simple activities such as reforestation or enrichments, or management and enhancement of recreational structures or educational structures. In this case, adopting a strategy of smart communication of impacts is fundamental, because companies are not really interested in the project itself, but rather on the consequences this project has on society, which in other words means ecosystem services. When it comes to impact investors instead, which may be both individuals and impact funds willing to deliver positive impacts alongside profitability, we usually offer restoration and active responsible management of existing forests, because in this way you can deliver several measurable impacts, and the measurability is a key factor here, because this is the very reason why usually they want to include forest assets into their portfolio. And measurability, you understand, with this new procedure gains a lot of credibility. As I mentioned before, sometimes the demand for ecosystem services can also come from the public, as in this case in the province of Padua in Italy, where we designed and planted a new forest in a land which was previously used for crop production, and this land was designed and planted with a specific aim to recharge the groundwater. So now the forest owner receives a payment from the local water board, because the local water board recognizes the service of water infiltration, groundwater recharge carried out by the forest. Moreover, the forest owner receives a payment also from the local public administration, because the forest is used by the local population for recreational activities and by the schools for educational activities. And when it was time to develop this project, the forest owner also received payments by individuals and by sponsors and donors who understood the service that the forest would have provided in improving the landscape and in creating new habitat for biodiversity. So, as I was mentioning before, sometimes we develop projects for companies willing to improve the quality of their supply chains, as it was the case in the Lombardia region in Italy, which is roughly the Milan area, in which there was a popular industry willing to improve the quality of its supply chain by increasing the share of FSC certified wood. And in this case, by adopting a participatory approach and including all the relevant stakeholders, we designed and implemented a complex payment for ecosystem services scheme, which allowed in the end to the close-by regional park to restore the fluvial ecosystem, while allowing at the same time the popular plantations to get the FSC certification. So looking at our experience, we can certainly say that market is ready, that there is already demand for ecosystem services. The point is that we need to understand that there are different types of demand for ecosystem services, and to need to answer them in different ways. Of course, the FSC ecosystem services certification is a very powerful instrument, because it allows us to gain credibility when we claim to have a positive impact on the ecosystem services provision. However, of course, training is needed, because as we have seen, marketing strategies, selling strategies and communication, and also the use of the ecosystem services procedure is very important, and there is need for training. We are actually also testing now the possibility to use this tool also to improve and to ease the access to finance after natural disasters, for restoration after natural disasters, or for urban regeneration. And so we designed a new portal which is called Wow Nature, and you can find it online. So if you are interested more about our projects, please take a look at our website, ETIFOR.com, or get in touch with me. And I'm taking the occasion also to let you know that if you want to explore the linkages between ecosystem services and entrepreneurship, we are running an online course, a learning course. And if you want to know more about the forest management auditing process, we just published a book also. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Federico. Thanks, Aran. Before we can answer some questions you may have, we want to show a short video. Is that right? Right now? At the very end? You want to do this only? I thought, okay, we can. I think we maybe should show it right now. So give a bit of flavor of another project, how it looks on the ground. Do we have sound? If not, then but it has sound now. Otherwise, maybe in the meantime, if you have questions, anything that we can answer already?
Donde entra una cierta cantidad de agua, esa agua entra en relación con los distintos ecosistemas de ese lugar geográfico, en este caso en Chiloé con los bosques, las praderas, las turberas, la gente que vive.
Nosotros somos Chiloé, una gran heterogénea comunidad en un archipiélago al inicio de la Patagonia chilena. Nuestro principal recurso, el agua, la obtenemos de la lluvia. Esta la captamos en las distintas cuencas hídricas. El agua es regulada por las turberas que la almacenan y regulan su flujo.
Una cuenca es un lugar geográfico, es considerado como un sistema donde entra una cierta cantidad de agua. Esa agua entra en relación con los distintos ecosistemas de ese lugar geográfico. En este caso en Chiloé con los bosques, las praderas, las turberas, la gente que vive en esos ecosistemas, y después sale una cierta cantidad de agua.
Nuestros bosques nativos regulan la calidad y cantidad del ciclo hídrico, cuidando el estado de nuestras cuencas.
Antiguamente nosotros junto con mi familia cortábamos el bosque y hoy día estamos tratando de devolverle la mano a la naturaleza. Hemos plantado más de 600 árboles aproximados y lo seguimos haciendo en los lugares que fueron talados con árboles solamente nativos y poder volver a tener el lugar que se tuvo antiguamente.
Hoy día se habla de déficit hídrico, pero en realidad en la provincia no hay déficit hídrico. Particularmente es como una falta de gestión del agua.
Debido a una gestión incorrecta de soluciones individuales muy precarias, hace aproximadamente 8 años tenemos problemas de abastecimiento de agua.
La empresa ESAL nos hizo ver claramente que su única función era potabilizar y distribuir el agua sin tener ninguna injerencia respecto de dónde salía el agua del tranque de Pudeto.
Históricamente se ha venido haciendo un mal uso de los ecosistemas que regulan el ciclo hídrico en Chiloé.
se está rompiendo el equilibrio ecológico.
Hoy, estamos despertando nuestra conciencia hacia un manejo adecuado de nuestros recursos naturales y la relación que todos tenemos para el ecosistema.
Entonces ahí también entramos nosotros en profundidad a reconocer, digamos, cuál es la cuenca que nos abastecía a nosotros de agua y a entender de que esta cuenca debería ser cuidada.
Los niños de los colegios vienen acá a este sector, se dan cuenta que realmente es muy importante lo que se está haciendo acá.
Lo más importante es el agua.
Vemos la necesidad y empezamos a implementar metodologías de trabajo a nivel predial, integrando a la sociedad desde el inicio del trayecto de nuestra agua.
Se puede hacer por el agua, siempre. Porque todos queremos tener agüita buena.
Empezando por un manejo integrado de microcuenca, que busca mejorar la calidad del agua y mantenerla en el tiempo, aprendiendo la importancia de nuestro entorno y recuperando nuestros suelos.
Todos necesitamos agua y para eso se está trabajando, para cada vez ir mejorando más la calidad de agua.
Plantación y cerco y las aguas, los bebederos, como le llaman.
Planificando de forma correcta la utilización del espacio.
Es óptimo que todos los productores de la cuenca pudiesen someterse a este tipo de plan de ordenación. Eso aseguraría una calidad de agua óptima.
Creando puentes y cercos para alejar el paso de ganado y vehículos de la fuente principal.
La protección arriba para que los animales no se metan.
E implementando sistemas de alimentación de agua a potreros.
Que el animal ensucia el agua.
Confeccionando ayuda para la recuperación del suelo erosionado, creando muros naturales para la captación de sedimentos.
Esto va a permitir, por un lado, que ya no se pierda más suelo y se genere una especie de terraza donde perfectamente este suelo se puede recuperar para alguna actividad agrícola o forestal.
Realizando zanjas en praderas, reteniendo el flujo acelerado del agua y reforestando para ayudar al ciclo hídrico de la cuenca.
Eso frenó lo que era la corriente de las lluvias sobre las praderas.
Creando conciencia en reducir el número de animales y sacándolos de predios para ayudar a la reforestación. Esto, a su vez, genera un mecanismo de certificación de buenas prácticas a nivel predial. Hace 4 años empezamos con el manejo adecuado de la microcuenca.
Si nosotros vamos cuidando nuestros ríos, los otros vecinos lo pueden hacer. Porque con mejor calidad de agua le llegaron los cuiditanos. El agua es vida.
Ya somos el 5% de la microcuenca en estas condiciones y el servicio ecosistémico de agua de calidad está mejorando. Queremos ser un ejemplo y que todos nos sumemos a mejorar la calidad de nuestra agua.
Ojalá se siguiera con el tiempo haciendo cosas, seguir plantando.
Solamente falta el financiamiento para que se realicen, para que se ejecuten las acciones.
So that gave us a bit of an insight and flavor of a practical application. And I think that it's stopped or ended with a statement, a problem statement, which is the link really to potential supporters, buyers, finance sector more generally. Would you, I will maybe start off with a question myself. And this, the characteristics of our procedure is all around demonstrating impact. As you probably have now noted, it is not about actually generating tradable units of something, of carbon, of water, of biodiversity, which could then offset something elsewhere. So we allow the linking to such accounting methodologies, but this is a much more generic way of describing positive effects on nature and for society. So, Frederica, would you see what would you consider to be the biggest challenge in demonstrating in this whole approach? Is it more to describe properly what the impact is, or is it more then to really, whatever the description is, to reach out to those ones who have an interest and have actually the power to support such change on the ground?
Yes. So I believe that the part of demonstrating the impact is not always an easy part, because sometimes you lack data, but we can always count on some well-developed methodologies, as you said. So that the most important part, I think, is the ability to really communicate with those that can be the financer of our ecosystem services. So this is what we do with companies, but not only with companies, also with individuals. Because as in the example I've shown before, where there was a freshly planted forest, and people understood the service that the forest was providing to their territory, and so they were willing to compensate the owner for this extra effort he was taking. And so, yes, I think that the most important part is how we can communicate these impacts to the general public and to those who can pay also and contribute to it. And the FSC ecosystem services procedure for sure helps to do it in a proper and in an effective way.
Thank you. So maybe looking here around, do you have specific questions? Yes, please, in the back. Maybe I'll give you, or you can help me out there. We just use the microphone for our followers online.
All right. Well, it's a question for Federico. I was impressed by the example you put about this farmer that planted the forest and so on. Do you know more or less, to get an idea of the numbers, how much is the income that a farmer would get for a hectare of such forest?
Yes. Okay, I know what the income is. I cannot provide the specific values because there is confidentiality.
But the range?
I can tell you that the forest was planted in a land that was previously used for crop production in an area which is surrounded by a lot of livestock. So the prices of the crop were pretty high, and still now it's more convenient for the forest owner to have a forest instead of a crop production. And this is thanks to ecosystem services payments.
Thank you.
Yes, can you pass it on, please?
Hi, I also have a question about the advantages, actually. Like if you, for example, have an area that you want to have reforestation in, what is the advantage for you for getting the certificate? How is the how about financiation and stuff like this? If you get the certificate, it can probably help you get financiation, but from other sources, right? Did I understand this correctly? So what exact advantages would one person have to get the FSC certification for a forest that is not used for wood, for example, but just for reforestation? What exact advantages do we have?
Well, maybe I start off, but I mean, usually forests, most of the forests can be used and are used practically also for products to generate a certain production, not only services. But of course, the procedure is also meant to be used for those cases and in areas where timber production might not be the most attractive objective of management. And that is exactly, so for instance, there's smallholders which have such a low volume, they might not find it too attractive to produce particular products. In other parts of the world, in the tropics, often conservation is a more important element to demonstrate or to work towards. Now, the benefit is really here that you can actually determine and identify an additional management objective that you seek then really support for, because when you just the traditional approach that you say, well, I put something under conservation, you would not be able to really say what is the difference that you created to the state before or after. And this procedure, the key element of this procedure is that you first determine a baseline. What is your starting point? You can then specify what are the actions I put in place to reach a better kind of state, and then you need to verify if you have actually met those objectives and have reached really a tangible difference between what you started from and what your activities were then leading to. And this is this difference that you can then go out with and say, hey, I'm doing something for the good of the forest, for the good of the people who benefit from it. I need support for that, or I in order to continue and maintain that, you can then seek really the financial investments or support for making that happen. So it's that description of change, that this procedure is facilitating, that is otherwise very hard to put into a credible kind of a form towards the market or investors. Did that kind of answer your question?
It did, yes. Thank you.
Or maybe
if I can add something.
Yes.
Yes, from the practice, from experience, we learned that ecosystem services are often surrounded by, there is an asymmetry of information, we call it, because if a company wants to come to you, forest owner, and I need, I don't know, I say, okay, I want you to do something that has a positive impact because I want to do something good for the society that brings me, okay. In this case, who can guarantee that you are actually delivering the impacts that you are claiming on ecosystem services? And this is where the new FSC ecosystem services certification comes in. It gives credibility to your claims of impact on ecosystem services provision. And in this way, it eliminates the asymmetry of information between the provider of ecosystem services and the beneficiaries and the buyers.
Yes, please go ahead.
Well, I have a few questions. The first one, I just link it to what you just said, that the FSC gives credibility, but how? I mean, who is going to assess that your biodiversity level is increased in these 2 years? Is that at cost of the forest owners? He has to pay for the field work at the beginning and the field work after, and yeah, so I don't really see how you provide credibility. And then I will go to the other question, but first.
Try to understand and address. So credibility, I would think what you could add to what Federico previously said is the credibility comes in through third-party auditing. So that is where we say we have a demonstrable methodology that people can see how it works really in practice. You are required to publicize the assessment that you have done, and you have a third party that is accredited to have high standards of auditing that comes in and checks the truthfulness of these claims. So that is the credibility part. But I think you had also, there was another element in your question which maybe was not directly related to credibility.
I understand that if then there is your logo on it, then people say, wow, yeah, I understand and I trust the logo, basically. But then if I am a forest owner and I decide to manage my forest not for timber but for ecosystem services, then I have to make monitoring and actually biodiversity field work and, map which species I have, map how many trees I have, map wood, anything. And that probably is, I have to pay for that. And the same will be in 5 years, and I have to pay again. And then I have to come to you just to understand the procedure. And then I come to you, and you don't really check on what I did, but you decide if to give me your logo or not, something like that.
Okay, and Frederic, you can probably also explain, or maybe Anand. So you're asking about the investment and who's actually having to pay the price for what.
Yeah.
So we can differentiate, of course, what you said, the costs of complying with the standard, or the costs of management in the widest sense, and then the cost of auditing. And yes, these are both the typical elements of certification that the producer who is putting a product or a service to the market has to advance, has to pay for. In the best case, there is already an interested customer or investor who allows for that, and there's examples. And I think in many cases, actually, this is part of the product. The project development to see, okay, this is our proposal for what we would do on the ground. Do we find interested investors into this? And only then we can actually start with an additional effort. But often, yes, you have to advance the payment. And then you seek, and we have seen these examples now. These people, they're doing things on the ground. They have to then demonstrate. They have to pay the auditor. In fact, they have extra efforts, and then once they have demonstrated through also this procedure, there is a better chance for them to also get then refunding. But maybe I'll ask the two of you. Do you want to add something, Erhan? Otherwise, anything from your end?
Yes, I just want to say that yes, it is a cost. It is a cost because you have to monitor additional variables and additional things. But still, our experience told us that even if there is a cost, the benefits you obtain from such activities and from such certification, they are more than the cost you have to bear.
They pay back.
That's the point. Yes, if you are able to find and to locate this demand, these different types of demand for ecosystem services, and to bring them together in the same project as well, you will be able to have further benefits that exceed the costs.
Okay, and then my last question is about Italy. And in Italy, who is that pays back for that? The government, private investors? Who is that is paying for these ecosystem services?
So all these examples that I have shown are real examples of projects we undertook. So we had private companies. For example, Ali is a supermarkets chain. IKEA, everyone knows IKEA here. Okay. We also have had impact investors of both types. We had an individual which was particularly sensitive to environmental and social aspects. And we had also an impact fund that wanted to include a forest asset into their portfolio. And also we had demand from the public, because in this case is the local water board, which is a public body that pays the forest owner, and also the local public administration who pays the forest owner for letting people going into the forest and for recreational activities or educational activities. So demand comes from these five demand that I've shown you before.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I have another question for this. So if the money comes from local public institutions and stuff like this, how long are the contracts for the farmer who turned his farm actually into a forest? How long is he guaranteed that he will get this kind of money?
So it depends on who is developing the projects. How you, as he said before, it's part of the project management. We usually think about it before, and then we decide whether it is possible to develop this kind of project or not. And in this case, in the case I've shown you, so the impact investor, for example, has a range of 10 years. We had 10 years investments. And in this case, which is probably the most interesting that I've shown you, the contract with the water public body is a 10 years contract, but it will likely be signed again, because it's convenient also for the contract for the local water body, because it has 1 million cubic meter of liters of water in the groundwater each year, and they need to have it. They need it.
Thank you.
That's another one.
Good afternoon. I was wondering, the work that you're doing in Latin America, in your experience in the previous years, who are paying these ecosystem services? I mean, who are the investment? Because in the case you briefly mentioned, you say like maybe an insurance company, but an insurance company that is from Latin America or an insurance company that is from another part of the world. I mean, normally who are those ones?
Right now, actually, the insurance company is a Peruvian insurance company, but they have presence in all over Latin America. In general, we see the interest is in not only insurance companies, retailers like IKEA or another ones. In the specific case of Peru, it's an insurance company, but I see in general the public sector actually is interested too. So it's not only in the insurance company. So at least. And in general, I see potential in all over the world. So it's not only Latin America or Peru or whatever.
I think there's usually also a difference in the type of ecosystem service that you are looking into. So like in this case, water is usually a very local, attractive good that you offer that with immediate benefits downstream. Whereas maybe carbon, which is a bit more abstract, you could find kind of there's global accounting frameworks you could use and the global markets that you could reach with that. So it is very different and very depending. And then recreational services, of course, ecotourism, again, can be very local directly by an individual that benefits from it, but can also be even cross-continental by supporters of more general eco-friendly resource management. So that is maybe both the opportunity, but also the challenge, I think, for this whole market for ecosystem services that is so undefined, and so there's a huge amount of opportunities and readiness also to pay and recognize extraordinary services, but it's so diverse both in the types of buyers, investors, but also in the reach, local, regional, global, that you really need to have very good understanding and capabilities to reach out to those ones who are most likely to support individual projects. I'm looking around. Is there any further questions that we can try to answer? Yes, please.
Federico, you mentioned that one of the demands were green marketing and CSR. And then you also mentioned the importance of training, marketing, and sales. Could you talk a little bit about that? What is the training?
Sorry, and I also mentioned?
Training. You said, in one of the slides, you said training is important. I think.
Yes. So, okay. So training is important in the sense that forest owners or forest managers, they need to really understand how the market for ecosystem services works, how to reach the different kind of investors, the different kinds of demand. In this sense, training is needed in order to be able to apply effective sales, marketing and sales strategies for ecosystem services, as well as for the application of the ecosystem services procedure, because it's a procedure and it requires some capabilities to be applied. And so there's need to training in this sense.
Maybe just to mention, there is also an associated guidance document that we have developed to help users to understand in a more common language on what this is all about and how you can access particular elements of that procedure. Any further questions we could answer? If not, then I would very much like to thank our presenters here, Hernan and Federico. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your attention and your questions. And I hope we could give you a bit more understanding of our objectives, ambitions, and experiences with this new instrument. If you want to have a bit more material, we have a booth around the corner. You might have seen that. And we are also here for any further follow-up questions you might have. Thanks a lot.
For your next Auftritt, please don't make this. I know it's important what you have to say, but the people have to hear you, and the technician, the video camera and the sound technician have to hear you. So please, if you see it on the side, take the microphone. Just not here. You see? Yes. You don't hear me. And if you're only a little bit on your voice, yes, I hear you. Yes. I can't open it more on the channel by your microphone. You see? Nothing. Yes. So for your next, do it in this direction and you're perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out what is the right way when you're using the signs.
Open it more, yes, and it sound comes thinner and thinner. So, and now it hits the volume and it's... Yes.
Thank you.
Just tell us about FSC and how to approach this topic with the